I did 2 shows early on. Each one closed in one day. And I went to McCandless and said, I'll bet you these buildings I'm working on with you don't close in one day. And I was getting a little bit, I was still young. And then I'm probably about 19. He said, if you want to do architecture, you got to go back to school and study art, get some basic understanding of architecture. It's really interesting to now look at designing buildings instead of designing sets. No, very little difference. Structures were different, this and that. There was all kinds of different technologies, rules. He said to McCandless one day, architecture, engineering has so many rules. Rules are a substitute for thinking, and I'm never going to stop thinking. So it didn't matter what the rules said, what the things were. If I didn't like it, I didn't do it. I only wanted to do what I thought should be done. I drove McCandless nuts. But we got along fine. We did some mighty spectacular work together. But I spent all these years. And then it dawned on me I had to branch out. So I took a job with an architectural lighting designer named Seymour Evans. Seymour Evans was a character beyond belief. And I learned everything not to do from Seymour Evans. He was a crazy, wonderful guy, talented, and the best salesman I ever met. But he was just didn't fit my moral upbringing. But I really learned a lot. And I worked with all kinds of architects, and I was now really doing architectural lighting, and then it became clear to me that if I wanted to make a living, and I was now old enough to start to want to get married and things like that, then I would have to get a job, a regular job, like I had with Stanley McCandless, and it would have to be in architecture. I couldn't rely on theater to make a solid enough living to be comfortable. So I decided one day to quit Seymour Evans, and I took a job with a lighting manufacturer as head of their design department. That didn't last long, and I decided that I would have to open my own lighting design practice. So there it is. The Howard Brandston Lighting Design Incorporated was born in 1965. It was interesting. In order to get started, I needed money. So my mother-in-law lent me $3,000 to get me off the ground. And I had a little studio in the Flower District and nothing to do. And I was out, I knew all kinds of architects at that point, working with Stanley McCandless, trying to get work. And I was getting little odds and ends things to do. One of the lighting manufacturers gave me work to do, designing fixtures for them, because I knew how to do that. Learned it from Stanley McCandless. So I was making some money, a living wage. Most of my time was spent playing the guitar, because I had nothing else to do. And I enjoy doing that because I like to sing and play the guitar and do whatever. One day I get a call from the lighting manufacturer that I've been working for saying a friend of ours just got a job to do the theme pavilion for Canada for Expo 67. He needs a lighting designer, and we recommended you. I went to see this guy, Rudy DeHerrick, who was one of the 10 most important graphic designers at the time. And I did the lighting for the theme pavilion for Canada. And this was horrendous. This was, to my way of thinking, this was worse than the theater. This was trying to get this exhibit open in time for the World's Fair to begin, Expo 67 to begin, was tiring. So Rudy DeHerrick and I are lying on the ground, exhausted, but the building is open. It's ready to go, ready to open up in the next couple of days. And 3 guys in trench coats come up, look down on the ground and see Rudy and I and say, "Are you Rudy DeHerrick and Howard Brandston?" "Yes, we are." So I'm from the U.S. government. We're planning to do this exhibit for Expo 70 in Osaka, Japan. We would like you to be on our design team. We like what you did here for Canada. So I got to do the U.S. Pavilion for Expo 67. That immediately gave me a place in the profession. But at the same time, Hilton was building this fabulous hotel in Montreal, and they needed a lighting designer, and they knew me. And they decided to interview me for the job. And I go to the Hilton office, and there's a bunch of guys sitting around. I don't know who they are. I know the architect for the job, but I didn't know anybody else. They said, "Well, Howard, we know who you are. We know you've been doing this work, but you've never done anything essentially on your own. Why should we give you this job?" I looked at him and said, "You should give me this job because you will be the first." This tall guy gets up and he says, "Give him the job," and he walks out of the room. Go to the opening. It's a wonderful job. And there's one of the Hiltons himself is there. I said, "This is really good lighting. Who did this?" They said, "Howard did this." I said, "Howard did this? This is the best job we have. What else is he doing for us?" He said, "Oh, he's got other things, we've got other things for him to do." That was a lie. They had nothing for me to do. The architect was pissed that they hired me, they gave me several Hilton hotels to do. That got me off and running. That was really the springboard of a career. Sheraton hired me. Hyatt hired me. I was doing hotels around the world, all at this one time, and it was glory days for me. I was traveling on the world. I would joke about that and say, "Look at that! I'm getting to see the world, and I didn't have to join the Navy." So there it was. It was off and running. I got to do the U.S. Pavilion. That was Expo. That was 1970. I was giving lectures and this and that, the other thing. I could churn out that work like you wouldn't believe. Just earning a living. It's a challenge in lighting, because lighting is a very tiny, tiny portion of any building. The projects I do lighting could be at best 2-3% of the whole project. I couldn't live on getting 2% of the fee. The challenge is to create a value for your product. That is the challenge. What value are you bringing to the job? I'll give you a not so simple, but an example. A new project, big project, the Animal Kingdom project, Animal Kingdom Lodge. And they're coming to New York to interview lighting designers. The architect says, "How come Howard isn't on the list?" I said, "Oh no, we're not going to hire him for this job." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Because he talks us into doing things we would never do."
That's too funny.
He said, "Well, why don't we go and see him anyway?" But these young guys who came into the firm, they needed to move. They needed me to go. They had plenty on the ball, you know, and they're doing well. I see them a lot. In fact, I'm going to be doing one more job with them again, a job I didn't want. You know, I really wanted out. But the developer married into a family that I've been working for years, and he wants me to do the job. Well, I can't turn this family down, so I have to do it. That's my moral upbringing, you know, the good moral fabric that my parents built into me. Opportunities will come. I'm probably hypersensitive to that at this point in my life. I wish somebody would be there like Leon Friend. Who's your Leon Friend? Who's your Stanley McCandless? Who's your Eisenhower? Who's your Einstein? Who is your person? There are all kinds of people who you read all these things. Do any of them become your mentor? Why not? The paper's filled with stuff every day. Is there something you wish to tackle? There's all kinds of things I'd like to do, but I just don't have the time to do it. There's some things that if it's really important to me, I will do it.